Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you've been working at your coaching business for a while, you might have found out by now that it's not as easy as you thought to get clients. If that is you, I want to invite you to check out my free workshop sharing how to go from crickets to clients, creating a freebie funnel formula. So in the series, I share with you how to make a freebie that people actually want, that they actually opt into, so that you can grow your email list, so that you always have an audience to share your offers with. And you always have an audience where they are being nurtured by you, they're moving through the sales cycle, and you're not stuck every time you have a launch feeling like you have zero eyeballs on your content. So if that has been you, if you've been stuck in that and you know you need a bigger audience, you know you need to nurture your audience, go to haileyrowe.com/live event, all one word, to get the free series and get started.
Carly Hill, and she is a business expert. And today we're going to be talking about how you can create more time-saving systems in your business, put some things on autopilot, because as a business owner, you know there's a lot of tedious tasks. You're wearing a lot of hats, and Carly is an expert at helping you get back some of your time and create those systems. So Carly, first, why don't you just share a little bit about how you got into entrepreneurship and a little more about what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hailey. I was really looking forward to this. And my story is a bit unique. I'm actually a social worker by trade. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. I used to have my own therapy practice. And when I moved into working for myself as an entrepreneur, having my therapy practice, I realized how much I didn't know about business and really went down a business rabbit hole, started studying the online industry, started really studying online coaching and what is the difference between therapy and coaching. And I was like, what did all these coaches know that we don't know? And how are they so successful? I went to years and years of school, have certifications, every letter of the alphabet, but they're making so much more money. They're really good at marketing. How can I tap into this and leverage my clinical knowledge, my clinical skills? And really, I had learned I was coaching the whole entire time in my quote unquote private practice, but nobody really teaches us the difference between therapy and coaching. And so when I started creating courses and digital products and really understanding messaging and marketing and copywriting and sales, everything became seamless and I was able to buy back my freedom, my flexibility, and my security while still doing what I love to do and transform lives. Therapists started asking me, how are you doing this? How are you creating this online coaching business? Can I do this? How can I protect my license and do this? Because there is nuances moving from a therapist to a coach in the online space. And so then I moved into the business coaching world and absolutely found my groove. It is my obsession. It is my passion. All things business, systems, taking everything that you're knowledgeable about teaching and just moving it into the e-learning online space.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
I love it. Yeah, we all start somewhere, and usually with the coaching world, it's starting with a bunch of different certifications and having a passion for helping people. But then when it comes to all the business stuff, people get super overwhelmed. And it's not usually their area of expertise. And that's where people get stuck. So it's great that you help with that. So what are some of the most common reasons for overwhelm that you see among your therapists who are starting their businesses?
Number one is just figuring out their niche and their messaging and actually figuring out who they're going to dial in and help. But once they figure that out, it is actually attracting their ideal clients, getting them to raise their hand and be like, what is this that you're offering? Tell me more. And then from there, it is setting up systems and a team that can support you. The whole reason that everyone's moving into the online space is to buy back their freedom. But I feel that oftentimes people are scared to hire. They think, oh, well, I'm just starting my business. I don't have enough, money to hire and delegate, when the reality is those hires are going to be revenue drivers that it is actually going to help you collapse the timeline and buy back your freedom.
Yeah. So for people who do want to get more time back, let's say they're spending a lot of time right now, maybe posting, maybe doing collaboration outreaches like podcast pitches, things like that. What are some of the common systems if you were to tell a new client who needs to market, who needs to make sales? What are some of the systems you would tell them to develop or start or try on their own first or hire? Like what would be kind of some of the first, maybe they know their message, they know their offer, but now they got to get it out there and they want to start outsourcing potentially. Where would you start?
Yeah. So let's start with social media. It's a really good question. Social media, for example, number one, you need to have a marketing plan in place, because we don't just want to be posting for consistency or posting for fluff. We need to post with intention and strategy to get a paying client. So yes, you can use AI and you can use these systems that I'm about to speak about. But if you don't have a marketing plan first before you go and use these tools, you will fall on deaf ears. What I mean by a marketing plan on a high level is copywriting frameworks. What you're posting each day. On Monday, you post an authority post. On Tuesday, you post a 2-step lead magnet post. On Wednesday, you are going live, for example. Like, what is the cadence of what you're posting, when you're posting, where you're posting it? Then you can use the tools to schedule out, right? You don't have to be manually posting every single day. There's endless amounts of tools. Most people are familiar with Canva, right? Like Canva has a scheduler right in it. If you have the pro version, you can use Canva's batch create. You can take one template and you could turn it into 90 posts in the matter of minutes and a click of a button. Then you could use the Canva scheduler, or let's say Facebook and Instagram, you can use the Meta backend scheduler. So creating your post and scheduling your post is one way to shortcut your time. Batch your content. In order to batch your content, you need to have that marketing plan in place where you know what you're posting, when you're posting, and it's following proven copywriting frameworks. So you're not just going to ChatGPT and generating a caption for you. People are going to know that it's AI. They're going to know it's not you. And if you don't have strong call to actions that is actually leading them along in the client journey, then you're posting for fluff. You're posting to fill the space, right?
100%. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so funny you say that, because first of all, for anybody listening, if you're stuck on content ideas, I have a free content roadmap that helps you come up with your 30 intentional posts. It's at haileyrowe.com/content-roadmap. But one of the things within that is having a strong call to action and saying why for the call to action. Because you're right. So many people just say, let me know if you're curious, or it's something really wishy-washy. Like, maybe if you want to connect, like, and it's just kind of, you can just tell in the language.
I'm here if you need me,
yeah.
Right?
Right. It's not direct. It's not clear. It's not confident. It's not saying why they'd want to do the thing. And the other thing you said is the copywriting formulas, which there are time-tested formulas, and they have little special cute names like the ABA, or like the before after bridge, or, things like that. And I have a section on that in the inner circle. But I'm curious, just for people listening, if they're like, what's a copywriting formula? What do you mean by that? Could you maybe give an example?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you teach that, because I don't know about you, but for me, I had to go through so many different business mentorship programs to actually piece together these copywriting frameworks. And I was like, why wasn't there just one person who could teach me these 7 awesome copywriting frameworks? And I do teach that as well. PAS is an easy one. Pain, agitate, solve, also known as problem, agitate, solution, same thing. Your hook, your first liner of your this copywriting framework, your caption, if you will, should call out to either their pain or their desire. Of course, you're calling out to the population. So consistently calling out to that population, letting them know, like, hey, this is for corporate working moms who are struggling with XYZ or who desire XYZ. Then you can go into their pain, right? And then you want to kind of poke the bear and agitate that pain. So there's really a difference in copywriting versus showing and telling. Like if you're a weight loss coach and you're telling somebody, hey, you're frustrated because you can't fit into your clothes. If you could show them and you could agitate their pain, like, hey, you're standing in front of your closet, you're taking everything out, you're stretching it, you're standing in the mirror, you hate it, you take it off, you throw it on the ground, and then you're finally texting your friend, I'm canceling dinner plans, I'm not going out. This is storytelling. This is really showing them versus just telling them, hey, you're frustrated with your weight. And then at the end, the solution is providing them with maybe a lead magnet that you have, like struggling with this. It doesn't have to be this way. I have a 10-step guide that you can lose weight in 30 days. Comment weight loss if you want access to my guide.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And love that you said showing versus telling. Where can you do that in your copy? Everyone listening, you could look after this episode, look at your latest post or look at your website and see, are there places where I am showing versus telling? And one of the other things that you mentioned is, social media is just one of the pieces. But you also, I know, at least from my experience, your team, I think, found me somehow and did a podcast pitch. So it's clear you have other systems in place and team members in place to help you amplify some of the lead gen you're doing. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Like at what point, did you outsource that or what are some other lead gen systems you're doing in addition to the content piece?
Yeah, this is such a loaded topic. So we talked about social media. Let's talk about podcasts, for example, and narrow in on that. I always tell my clients, because just like yours, like they're starting out from scratch. Some of them don't even have an LLC filed. Some of them do come in and they're making 10K months and they have inconsistency and they want to scale more. But let's just say, they're coming in, they don't really have a big team yet. Maybe they just hired a VA. They have a virtual assistant, right? They're paying this virtual assistant $7 to $10 an hour. Let's go there. Let's leverage your virtual assistant to help you get on more podcast.
And your virtual assistant would probably be abroad for that rate, just so everyone knows.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, not in the States at that rate. But also just goes to show you can hire a team. Like a lot of people think, well, I have to have all this money to hire a team. No, get yourself a virtual assistant for $6 to $10 an hour, and it would be totally worth it to pay them $10 an hour to go create a media list for you. They're going to go search podcasts that you can be on. You can do the pitching yourself, but when you go to sit down at the desk, you're going to be utilizing your time more efficiently because you're going to have that media list in front of you. So you're going to tell your virtual assistant, hey, this is my niche. Go make a list of 20 podcasts that would be good for me to go on. You can use listennotes.com, or they could just pull up the podcast app, and then they could find their contact information, whether that is just their social media, or some people do have an application that you can fill out. So let them do the digging. And then you have a pitch template, and you can just copy and paste. And it's a numbers game, right? You pitch to 10 podcasts a week, you will land 2 to 3 of those at a minimum. Yeah.
I love that you said it's a numbers game too, because I think a lot of people come in with the misconception that it should, it's a thing. My business doesn't have to take me a lot of time, and I can do one pitch a week and that's it. Like, you can start that way and definitely start building some traction, but at some point when we're talking about systems, you have to scale things. You have to do more volume. So what do you say about, on the time piece? It is going to be, before you get to a point where you have what we call like the freedom and all of that, there's going to be a period where you're kind of figuring things out. You're kind of starting to build your systems. And at each new level, there's going to be times where you have to invest more time in your business and other times where you can kind of coast. So tell me a little bit about, when it comes to time, how do you, like, what would you say to clients to just like set expectations properly and not create this vision that I see nowadays online, that like everything can be passive income and it's just, laptop lifestyle at the beach and that's it. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that you have to be real with the stage of business that you're in. I always look at business in 3 stages. You're either in the foundational stages, you're just starting to find where the house is. You bought the house. Okay. Then we have the growth stage of business. You're building up the cinder blocks, right? It doesn't quite have a roof yet. And then you move into the scaling stage of business. A lot of people come in and they use the word scale too freely. And they're like, I'm ready to scale my business. And they don't even have their LLC filed, or they don't have proof of concept yet. And they're still doing their beta round. So when you really reach that level of freedom that is the laptop lifestyle, you're at the tail end of the growth stage / scaling stage. You are not in the foundational stage, rolling up your sleeves, wearing all the hats, doing the dirty work, first hiring your team, then training your team so that there's not turnover. You're in the trenches at the beginning. And so I think it's just being real about, where are you in the growth stage? If you're in the foundational stage, it's going to be some front end work. There's no such thing as passive income. I like to call it leveraged income. Like, yes, you can be at the beach and making money, but you worked your ass off on the front end to actually be on the beach making money on the back end.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. What about when people are like, okay, well, I'm going to reach out to podcasts, or I'm going to start doing lead gen, but they're feeling, and you have a therapy background, so maybe this is a good question for you. They're feeling the doubt. They're feeling the personal rejection if someone says no. They're worried it's going to be all a waste of time. What would you say to them?
You're asking the wrong question.
Ooh.
That's the simple thing. Carly, I want to start this coaching business, but I think it's the safer option for me to just stay in back-to-back one-to-one sessions and keep up with these 30 clients a week. I'm like, is that the safer option for you? Because that to me sounds like burnout. Your health is going to be impacted. You're not going to be able to reach your money goals. And what about your kids going to college, or taking that vacation, or saving for retirement, taking care of your elderly parents, paying off your student loans? Is it really worth it? The question you should be asking yourself is, what if it all does work out? What if I do this and it blows up? Would it be worth it for me to try? Oftentimes it's not the fear of failure, it's the fear of success. Like, they know deep down in their heart that they're going to do this thing and it is going to work. And then they have visibility wounds. They have a fear of being seen, not so much a fear of rejection. Sometimes it's a fear of rejection, but I think that's something to self-analyze is, am I really afraid that somebody's going to say no to me, or am I afraid they're going to say yes? Because I get clients saying all the time, okay, Carly, it's happening. They're booking calls and they said they want, like, they're like, take my money. What do I do? My worst fear is here, but this is actually what I wanted the whole entire time.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm so glad you said that, because I do see that too. It's like self-sabotage. It's like, oh, what happens when I do get the clients? I'm freaked out now. Now I have to actually deliver. Now I have to actually, go with the next steps. So really glad you said that. And shifting the question, I love that too. Shift it from what if this doesn't work to what if it does? And what am I afraid of if it does? And how, start to work through that. What about when it comes to your journey? Was there something that was really scary to you that you were able to conquer? And maybe how did you do that?
Yeah. Everything. Things are still scary, right? I mean, from the time I filed my LLC, I was telling myself the story. I'm just a social worker. I'm not a businesswoman. I don't know how to do any of this. But the one thing that's helped me time and time again, and you know this, 80% of our business is mindset. If we can switch the narrative to this can be learned, I'm in school again. If they did it, I can do it too. Using other people's success as proof. Like, you can either be intimidated or inspired. The choice is yours. Are you going to keep letting this be a one-day thought, or is today going to be day one? So there's been many, many fears that I've had. And as we continue to up level, we just hit new fears daily. But it does get easier to manage when you can flip the narrative. And it doesn't take as long to flip the narrative. You can just quickly flip the narrative, and you're scared, but you do it anyways. I got really curious. What's on the other side of this fear? I decided that fear is always going to be part of my business because I'm always going to be up leveling. So if it's always going to be part of my business, what do I want my relationship with fear to be like? Well, I want to be really curious about fear. And so I just play the what if game. Well, what if it actually works out? What if I actually get way more clients than I thought? What if I blow my revenue goal out of the water and it's triple instead of what I want it to be? What if? And I just get really curious.
Yeah.
So lean in.
Totally. Yeah. It is a mindset game. What about when it comes to the systems piece? Do you feel that, is there anything when it comes to like onboarding or like when you actually book a client? Because we talked about how some people get scared. I think a reason they get scared is because they're like, I don't know the next steps. This is a new thing for me to book an online client. So I need what do I need? I need a contract. I need this. I need that. Anything when it comes to onboarding systems that you can share that might help them save time with onboarding?
Yeah. So you can make things as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. I've been in the online space for the past 5 years. I've made over $4 million in the online space. The very first course that I created was on Google Drive, and I emailed it to my clients. That's how I onboarded them. I sent them a contract via email, and I took their money on PayPal, and I sent them their course on Google Drive. It was simple, right? Yes, you eventually want them to have a login, which means that you need to have a course system such as Go High Level, which is what I use, or some people use Kajabi or Kartra, etc. And that does allow you to automate everything. You can automate your contracts. You can automate the welcome email that they get. They have their login and password. Of course, they can always click if they forgot their password because that happens, etc. So yes, I would recommend onboarding that. And it doesn't have, or automating that onboarding process. And it doesn't have to be you who sets that up, right? You're already learning a lot, wearing all of the hats. This is what an ops assistant can help you do. This is what your VA can help you do. And again, you can get one for like $6 to $10 an hour who is familiar with the platform that you're using. If you're working with a business mentor, they're most likely going to teach you the platform that they use, and they should have behind the scenes trainings of here's the exact welcome template that you can use. Here's how you can upload your course. So they can choose to do it themselves, or, they can hire a team member to help them do that as well. But I guess the main takeaway here is you don't have to have all the huge tech bells and whistles and systems to still be successful in the online space. Everybody has to start somewhere. Like, I do have all of the fancy tech bells and whistles now, but I sure as shit didn't when I first started off.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you do not need the fancy stuff to begin with. And I was very similar to you in that I do a lot of stuff in Google. Like my first group program, it wasn't in a course portal yet. It was in Google folders. And the first group members got their little folders. Now, it was a lot less, price-wise because it was my first group. So they got a little beta rate, but it was not fancy, right? Mm-hmm. So I love that advice. Where can people stay connected with you? Because I really enjoyed your tips and they may want to check you out.
Yeah. You can find me at carlyhillcoaching.com or follow me on Instagram at carlyhillcoaching. From there, you can be linked to all of my best resources, tons of free resources. I have a book as well that walks you through the process of starting and scaling an online coaching business as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. And any final words you want to share with the audience?
You can do it. You can do it. It's worth it. My love is with you. I'm cheering you on.
Yay. We love that. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.